Well, in the same way that we leverage technology in our personal lives, consider this, for example. A small business or individuals historically would have had to actually buy a server, configure it, just to stand up something as simple as email. Today, we're able to go online and within a matter of minutes, we're able to sign up for email and use it. We're able to launch a website in a matter of minutes. And think about what small businesses are doing now. They're not spending significant resources on standing up infrastructure and hiring administrators. What they're doing is they're literally going online and are running their entire financial management operations within a matter of minutes. That's the simplest way to think about it. In the same way we've seen innovation explode through Darwinian pressure in the consumer space, we want to be able to translate not just the savings and the innovations there, but also the ease of use in the public sector. The reason cloud computing is such an important component is because we have to go back a decade and think about what happened in the last 10 years. We went from approximately 432 data centers in the federal government to over 1,100. Now, that's a significant growth in infrastructure. More importantly, it's not an intelligent way for the United States government to spend finite resources. So what we want to be able to do is shift those resources not to build yet another data center and install servers where we're only using 7% of capacity. What we want to be able to do is make sure that the investments we're making, as the President has said, have a direct impact on the American people. How do we spend billions of dollars in IT that we do on an annual basis to make sure that that money, that capital is deployed intelligently so that a student who's applying to college and has to go through the student aid form application does so in an easy to use manner, so that the IRS process in terms of filing taxes is easy, it's efficient, and it serves the American people. Across the board, there are a number of government services, from filing for a patent to the application process when you think about the veterans benefits. That's where we should be spending our finite resources, not on duplicative spending or on infrastructure. Well, one is instant provisioning of IT resources across the board. We have a number of stories across the federal government. A simple one is what happened with the secretary at the Department of Interior who wanted to send out an email and couldn't because none of the systems that he had talked to each other, and it took weeks to figure out how to actually send out an email from the Secretary at Department of Interior to everybody in the organization. That shouldn't be happening in this day and age. So imagine being able to instantly provision some of these solutions, whether it's email, collaboration technologies across the board, or whether it's workflow, financial management systems. Think about what the federal government does today when it comes to financial management systems. We end up spending billions of dollars, and we've got a poor history in the federal government of these systems that frankly don't perform at the end of the day, or unfortunately fail after spending hundreds of millions of dollars. Imagine an environment where you could instantly turn on the services in a very similar fashion that we do in our daily lives. If I wanted to start a small business, I would go online and I would have a number of options of account management across the board. Why can't we provide that type of computing environment in the federal government? And recognizing that IT is going to move towards commodity computing, so that not every agency is going to have to own a data center, not every agency is going to have to be experts when it comes to information technology. What we want to do is we want to make sure that technology is used to advance a mission, that it enables the mission of an agency, not that technology is leading in terms of expenditures when it comes to providing services. And most importantly, the way the American people will interact with their government will be far easier because we'll be able to provision services and provide access to government services in ways that we can't even imagine today. Well, I think we want to make sure that as we think about security, there are a number of things we have to look at. One is how do we make sure from a security perspective data at rest is protected as well as data in motion. So that's going to be really important to figure out how we focus on that. Second is to think about the investments that the government has already made, whether it's around smart cards or other mechanisms of multi-factor authentication, so that we are able to look at how that intersects with services that we want to leverage in the cloud. I think that's going to be important. Also, looking at some use cases. We know and we recognize that we're early in the movement towards cloud computing, and I think the industry is going to be key to helping drive cloud computing adoption by adopting some of these best practices. That is one of the reasons that the President's 2011 budget reflects $70 million at NIST. And part of what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that NIST is working closely with the private sector to make sure there's an environment, a platform for standards across the board. Right, and I think the key there is working closely with NIST. NIST is actually hosting a number of forums by bringing in the private sector to have a discussion around standards, around security, around data portability, and interoperability in a cloud environment. So NIST is going to be working very, very closely with the private sector as we look at the next generation of standards.